Hey guys, Jackson here. Let's talk 2026 Lego Star Wars rumors that are coming out. Stuff seems to be getting confirmed more and more by the day. And so we got a lot of good set names coming out, some price points coming out, which helps sort of frame what we can expect. Very excited about most of these sets coming out. Yeah, let's get into it. I'm going to be using a website here to go through it all. That way we can keep me on track. So, 2026 Lego Star Wars rumors. Ewok Village, Sandcrawler, buildable Darth Vader, movie posters, Star Wars icons, whatever that can mean. Tons of really good sets that I think people are going to be really excited for, and I'm hoping you guys are excited as much as I am. So, let's go down the list here. First up is the Sandcrawler. It's coming out as a $200 set, which to me puts it in the same realm as a lot of bigger playscale sets we've gotten recently, the Razor Crest, the Dark Falcon, the Ghost and Phantom 2, and I think this is going to be a really good middle ground. It should come with a Mudhorn as well, that is one of the rumors, and so tying it all in with the Mandalorian and Grogu hype this year, they're putting a lot of effort and money into those, so I think the detailing on this is going to be great. Love getting Jawas. The interior of these is so up in the air that the designers can really do whatever they want with it. Get a lot of cool droid pieces, get a lot of cool little mini builds, putting the Jawas on there that I'm very excited to see how this comes out. I'm a big sucker for Tatooine as a planet as a whole, and so I think having another big scale vehicle to be able to put in mocks, put in custom builds, is something that I'm very interested in. I'm hoping it's a little, it sort of has a rough vibe to it, but I'm hoping it's really nicely, got some good nice tile pieces, some big chunks on there, some cool play features like being able to suck the droids up in, and I think a really cool thing would be including like the Mudhorn egg, a bunch of little details in there from the Mandalorian and Grogu. So that's the Sandcrawler, $200. We don't know the piece count yet, but some good Jawas and some good droid figs should be in there, and I'm hoping. I'm a big sucker for the old molded creatures we used to get back in the day for Lego Star Wars, but I'm assuming the Mudhorn's going to be brick built. So TBD for how many pieces that's going to come out to be, how much that'll take away from the Sandcrawler's piece count, but I think that's going to be a really cool playscale set. I'm very excited to get that. Next up on the list, the AT-AT. Price count $179.99. I'm assuming this is going to be one of the tie-ins for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. We can see in the trailer that they're marching up the side of that snowy mountain. I think it's snowy. And I'm assuming this is going to be one of those tie-in sets. Always great to have an AT-AT on the shelf, and I think having the details that they'll incorporate in with it, especially at $179, should be a pretty decent playscale size. Again, Mandalorian and Grogu has really taken over this wave of sets coming out, and so excited for them all to have features that incorporate with it, and to have sets that you can see in newly released media is always really cool. Maybe there'll be some cool interior shots and some other stuff that they'll try and incorporate into the build here. So not too out of the ballpark price ranges on these. Again, an AT-AT at $179 should be a decent size play scale with some decent size play features. Should have a little bit of an interior and room for minifigs, and should come with a pretty decent fig lineup. Next up, we'll be doing the Imperial Shuttle. I feel like we've gotten a lot of Imperial Shuttles recently, but maybe that's just because we have a little one in the Death Star. We got this one in 2021. In fact, tons of people have been talking recently about the UCS one. That is everyone's favorite because it's all tiled off and nice. But another Imperial Shuttle, $139. I think that's going to be a good playscale size too. Actually should be a little bigger than the 2021 one. And so that'll be really cool. Some cool fig lineup. Get some really nice officers, stormtroopers in there. I would love to see dual molded legs in all of these. I love the look of dual molded legs. I think they should just come standard. I don't think we should be putting a lot of these features in unobtainable sets for most of the people. Especially when it comes to Imperial officers and Imperial troops and stuff where the dual molded legs don't need really much printing on them if they're dual molded. They just look like nice boots and clean white or gray pants. So you can sort of sacrifice the printing on the pants in exchange for the dual molded. I would love to see some more of that. So the Imperial Shuttle coming out and having some of those pieces will be important to me to see. I don't have an Imperial Shuttle in my collection currently, so getting a new one here in 2026 at a pretty decent price point for what I'm assuming the piece count is going to be relating to that. I'm excited to see how that comes out. As a playscale guy, I like playscale sets. Oftentimes I like playscale sets a lot more than I like the UCS sets. Having a lot of these pretty decent sized playscale sets coming out in 2026 is huge for me. I'm very excited about that. Next up, what every single person's been talking about all the time, Ewok Village dropping in 2026, $180. That is significantly less of a price than the old Ewok Village that has such a prestigious following. However, I think we'll still have a good chance to get a really nice playscale model, be able to highlight a lot of stuff. I think modern building techniques on all of these trees and plants is really going to play a part in this. I'd love to get the Leia with her hair down. I'd love to get C-3PO in the chair. I would love to see how they incorporate a lot of these new builds from all these botanical sets that LEGO's released recently. I feel like they've really dialed in a lot of plant building, and so translating that into Ewok Village, which is known for all these tree builds, is going to be something I'm really optimistic that they do this well. The fig lineup obviously can be incredible in this. You have all the OT guys, right? Han, Chewie, Luke, Leia, C-3PO, R2. Get a bunch of Ewoks in there, get some of the Scout Troopers in there, maybe get a Scout Trooper speeder bike. I think a lot of flexibility. Get the Ewok glider build as an extra. Pair this with an ATST. Ewok Village 2026 is a guaranteed buy from me, from anybody else that I know. At $180, that is a for sure pickup, and I think the implications of building scenes with this is going to be off the charts. Guaranteed purchase from me for this. Next up, Star Wars mini movie posters. I'm a huge sucker for these buildable movie posters. I like the displayability of those because I like to display and build the scenes with the actual sets that I have. So having mini movie posters up, I don't know the size they're going to be. At $50 each, it's hard to tell if these are going to be mosaics, or it's hard to tell if they're going to be more like that Tales of the Space Age. I actually think I have that set up here. Oh, you can probably hear me knocking stuff over. If it's going to be more like Tales of the Space Age, which I really like this, there's a lot of cool alt builds and mocks that transform this into the Star Wars posters or Star Wars scenes, like an Endor scene, stuff like that. So I'm hoping it's maybe something to do with those. I think you could do a 3-piece at a time to do the, right? Just like the Tales of the Space Age, you can have the sequel trilogy, the original trilogy, and the prequel trilogy all as their own purchase pieces. Or it's going to be $50 per movie poster, which you can get a lot more detail, a lot more size and scale in. I would love for them to do more than just the 9 main movies. I would love to get a cool Rogue One. I think the Solo movie is a great one for displaying. I'm really hoping these mini movie posters cover the breadth that is the Star Wars movies that have been released. I'm assuming since it's releasing in 2026, they are also going to have one for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. There's a new Star Wars movie dropping the same time they're dropping Star Wars movie poster or Lego set. Feels hard to not correlate those two. So Star Wars mini movie posters, $49.99. Either it's going to be smaller packs of the trilogies together or individual ones. But I'm excited either way. I think it's going to make a great display piece either way, and it's almost a guaranteed purchase for me, whether I get the Core 9 or whether I pick and choose favorite movies. It'll sort of leave it up to how the designs end up looking. Next up, upscale Darth Vader minifigure. Priced at $100. I don't have any of the other upscaled minifigures. I think the Darth Vader will look cool, but I personally am kind of out. I think the Darth Vader figure is a lot of black. And I get that he's the iconic character, but I kind of wish they chose a character with more of a dynamic outfit and facial features and stuff like that going on. I'm excited to see what the detail level is on this, but considering the detail they put into the Darth Vader helmet at whatever it was, those helmets are $60 sets for $40 more to build the entire rest of the body. I'm not sure if I'm going to love the detail versus trade-off versus sort of what's going to feel like a black wall that is the Darth Vader minifigure. How are they going to do? Are they going to do a cape? Darth Vader has a very iconic cape that you pretty much never see him without. Is that going to be our first giant cloth piece? Is that going to be some weird brick built thing? I just have a lot of questions about how this one turns out. I would have chosen a lot of other characters before Darth Vader in terms of just getting some detail and some variation in the build, but I am kind of hoping it turns out great and they do other characters with it so I can get to that point that I want to be at. But yeah, upscale Darth Vader minifigure, $100. My main concern for that is that it's going to sort of be a sea of black abyss without being able to get a lot of the details in there. But I would love to be proven wrong. So let me know. Buildable Yoda, on the other hand, $150. Now, we've had a lot of buildable characters in the last couple years, right? All the droids, K2SO, Chopper, R2D2. I'm probably forgetting a billion. The B1 on the Stap, and now we've had Chewbacca. Yoda's an interesting choice, because he's such a smaller character. I do feel like the buildable characters in scale, especially at a $150 price point, lend themselves to the taller characters like Chewbacca, K2SO, or the much detailed figures BB-8, R2D2. It would be cool to get him built in scale with a large-scale lightsaber. Obviously, getting all the sand green pieces with him would be something that's very cool to get. I don't know if they're going to make it some sort of posability aspect of it. Or what era of Yoda we're going to get. He's got quite a different look. Is it going to look closer to Puppet Yoda? Is it going to look like CGI prequels Yoda? Remains to be seen, but he is a very iconic figure. Off the top of my head, it might be the third time we're getting a buildable Yoda, but the other ones have looked a lot more minifigure scale, or a lot more like a minifigure. So getting, at least branching into some mainstream Jedi characters, right? I know Chewbacca and R2D2 and C-3PO are the mainstream characters, but having larger scale buildable characters like a Yoda could lend themselves to a buildable Jar Jar, buildable Mace Windu, buildable Pick Your Poison. So hoping for success in this. I think the sand green pieces will look really cool at the buildable scale, but I'm curious for how the proportions are going to go because they're choosing such a short character. Could have a tendency to look really chubby or blocky or squatty versus really stretched out and nice like the other ones have. Probably my second favorite one on here, Episode 2 Bounty Hunter Pursuit. Priced at $60. That's, with inflation, from what I've read, is relatively on par with the old Bounty Hunter Pursuit. A set I don't have and I've always wanted, so I'm excited to be able to get a refresh version. I think the building techniques on this one are going to be greatly improved to have some really streamlined sets. For me, make or break, we have to get both ships in this. So for the Bounty Hunter Pursuit set at $60, I'm going to need Anakin and Obi-Wan in their speeder, as well as Zam Wesell in her speeder with the changeable face. I'm going to want possibly an extra character. I've heard a lot of creators talk about Jango Fett getting involved. I disagree with that. We've had too many Jango Fetts come out recently. But one of the rumors that a lot of people have been talking about is including a Dexter in it. That would be huge. I don't know if the price point is up there for including such an iconic figure. I think, knowing Lego, they would have jacked that price up to $75 to include something like that in there. But Episode 2, Bounty Hunter Pursuit, $60. I want Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker in their ship, as well as Zam Wesell in hers, as well as the changeable face for her, as well as the iconic purple suit, as well as, some cool building features in there, like her storing her gun in the front fangs of her ship, the drone that flies out the window that Obi-Wan jumps on. Give him some clips so his minifig can hang from that. I really want that to be a fleshed out piece of what we're going to see here. So very optimistic for this. I'm honestly, if I'm going to be honest with myself, I'm probably buying it either way, whether it's good or bad, just because I love that scene in that era and those movies so much. But this can be a huge redemption arc, I feel like, for Lego Star Wars as a brand, to give fans what they want and to really dial in some of these prequel scenes that we've asked for and we've gotten on one-off situations that I think people want a lot more of in refreshed versions of. Icons of Star Wars is a very confusing title that we know next to nothing about. At $80, what can that be? Can't just be minifigures, right? Because that's insane unless it's a bucket of 10 minifigures. And I don't get why they would include minifigures of all the movie directors and stuff we've gotten. People want a George Lucas. I think including a George Lucas in whatever set this is would be cool. But an Icons of Star Wars set, to me, is either going to be scenes that are iconic to the Star Wars set, right? So a buildable scene with the twin suns, a buildable scene of the Cloud City fly-in, those iconic moments of Star Wars, and there's variations of it, or a scene with some micro builds in it. I don't know. I'm not sure if Icons of Star Wars is plural. So whether these are multiple sets and each one is a different icon, or if the $80 encompasses all of the icons we're going to get, in which case the scale and size of the build and the quality of what we're getting is going to go down to fit in all the multiple things they want to fit in. I've seen rumors that it could include more buildable lightsabers and artifacts and tools and weapons that we see in them, right? Like Luke Skywalker's lightsaber came out as a set. That was really cool to me. Is the Icons of Star Wars Lego set going to be buildable Darth Maul lightsaber, buildable whatever, Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber, buildable Darth Vader's, buildable Darksaber, and any of those things, buildable thermal detonator, buildable whatever? Is it going to be some sort of mosaic? Also is another concern. I can definitely see Icons of Star Wars at $80 being one of those mosaic kits, right? The like 1.5 by 1.5 box that you get all the little studs in, and each one builds a different character's face. So now you can build Obi-Wan, you can build Darth Vader. I can see that being a mosaic line, in which case that's a little disappointing, although would be cool if you could build all the versions and display them somehow. But I think a lot of people are working themselves up to expecting a George Lucas minifig in the Icons of Star Wars, and if that's not going to be delivered, I think they need to clarify that pretty soon. We've never gotten a George Lucas minifig, and having an official one would be great, considering I think they should have included a George Lucas minifig in the Star Wars logo set that came out last year. Luke's X-Wing Microfighter, $15. Listen, microfighters are microfighters. We actually just got Luke's X-Wing mech for $15 that just retired. It's sort of their thing to always have a Luke's X-Wing somewhere on a shelf just because it's a really iconic ship, but honestly, I thought we got a pretty good Luke in that mech set, and so his X-Wing Microfighter is just going to be a set back on shelves. I think $15 is a crazy price for a microfighter. They need to start dropping microfighters down to sub $10 unless it is something absurdly special or there's two figures or something else is going on. I just feel like that's $5 too much and that price needs to drop. But who knows what they're going to come up with for that build. Luke vs. Darth Vader, Bespin Duel. What an extremely iconic scene that we have had, I don't know, twice in the Cloud City sets, and then there was that standalone Bespin Duel set, sort of, that came out. But I would love to see the Luke vs. Darth Vader Bespin Duel as a really cool display piece. I'm assuming this will be more like the new dioramas that have come out, really tiled off, black border, a really cool detailed version of it. You got Luke hanging from whatever it is, the trash pole. Hoping the figures in here look really good. I'm hoping really good printing. I wonder what the side builds are going to be. I wonder what the greebling and details for the background is, right? They're in that big basin. And so I'm hoping that it covers a lot of really cool stuff. All right. Anakin's Jedi Starfighter. There's always a Jedi Starfighter out. I do feel like it's cool to get an Anakin one. We have Obi-Wan's that was just out for a while. I like the Interceptors a lot more than the Starfighters, but the Starfighters are usually at a pretty good price point. This says it's for $30. They usually go on sale pretty quickly to be $25, which I think is a much better price point for what you get out of them. For a lot of people, Anakin's Jedi Starfighter at $30 needs to come with him in his Clone Wars armor. I think we've had the Mace Windu recently come out. We've had the Obi-Wan recently come out with their Clone Wars armor. Anakin needs to complete that trifecta. For me, that's sort of a make or break character for this set. Like I said, I'm more partial to the Interceptors anyway, but if I can get a really cool Anakin in all of his Clone Wars armor with the long hair, that would be great. I love having a $30/$25 when it goes on sale Anakin Starfighter that's available for kids and new collectors and people who are trying to expand their sets. Great way to get that figure. Obi-Wan's that recently came out included, right, Obi-Wan as droid and Tom Wee, and so I don't know what other characters they'll include for Anakin, but I'm hoping we get the same treatment of Anakin, R2-D2, and a third character. Again, not sure who that would be. Could be like a... I mean, it could be anyone related to it, right? Chancellor Palpatine could be cool. Padme could be cool. They're not going to include like a Rex, or it'd be kind of disappointing to get C3, just C3PO. But I think it's a good chance to throw in an extra figure that people are really wanting to get a cool version of. So that's my current list of everything. I'm not going to touch on the... oh my god, I'm blanking on the name. Not the light up bricks. Smart bricks. Not a very smart moment for me. I'm not going to touch on the smart brick sets. I made a separate video on that, but I think that list of dumb sets, you could say, looks very promising to me. I'm happy with a lot of the price points. I'll be happier with the price points when I see the piece counts and we can start getting some feels for how big these builds might be. But for getting a lot of really iconic playscale sets this year, that is definitely where a lot of my money is going to be going. Ewok Village is a must for me. Bounty Hunter Pursuit is a must for me. And then fleshing out the rest, Sandcrawler is probably my third favorite one on that list. And then fingers crossed we get the George Lucas minifigure with icons or maybe movie posters. Two really good chances for them to include something fans have always wanted. So yeah, I'm pretty optimistic about these. Again, I'm a much bigger playscale person. I think a lot of other people really love all the UCS lines. But I love collecting all these playscale sets and just getting the posability and customization with them. Let me know if you're excited or not for these 2026 sets, what you're most excited for, what you think is overpriced, what you're fearing is going to come out like that. And I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks.